was trying to think, there are several ways to leave something behind during your lifetime, and you know, something for the future. One is to have children, obviously. That's a simple way of...
Without children, you don't have a future.
That's one way of
I
propagating.
didn't realize that was simple.
Thank you. It's a fine line.
That's one type of DNA that you can propagate to the future, and then there is the possibility of you know, having structures. You know, people build monuments, and stuff. Or having you know, propagating your academic DNA by writing papers, which is actually the most fun of all possibilities.
It's also the greenest.
So in terms of academic DNA, if I was thinking, you know, what would I like, how would I characterize the academic DNA that I'm trying to propagate to future generations? And that is basically to think differently about problems. Just to give you two examples, a few minutes ago, there was a person in my office, a former student of mine named Tony Tan, and he's now in the business world. He works with Bill Gates, and he tries to solve the energy problem in the future with some innovative method. Very different from what I'm doing. So he's in the business world. He's here in Boston trying to raise some funds for his company.
So he came to you.
No, he didn't come to raise the funds. We just met. And another example is Marion, who will speak later. She's over there. I trained her as a theorist. And what you will hear, she will speak about her experience as an observer at the South Pole. And that is another example of someone doing and I'm very proud of people that I train that end up doing things that are very different than I do. And so that I would define as my academic DNA, to think differently about a problem. Just to give you an example, yesterday we heard an ITC colloquium, and in that colloquium it was said, you know, we would like to characterize the atmospheres of planets, and then they looked at the transit spectroscopy, and then they saw no features, no spectral features. And that implies that there must be a haze. But the immediate thought that I had was, what about the atmosphere? Maybe it implies that there is no atmosphere. Because if you have no spectral features, and it's not just in one case, but in many cases, it's possible that you don't have an atmosphere. So that's the kind of thinking that I would like to encourage with people that work with me, that you shouldn't accept what people tell you. You should just think about it critically and think differently about the problem. And very often the mainstream is not thinking outside the box. And so having my students or postdocs do things that are very different than I do is very important for me. Now, the only risk that I see for this kind of activity that I do for the future would be if instead of being in the trenches and you know, doing the actual work associated with science, that there will be a call for me to do some administrative, higher level work. And that's the only risk, and so far so good. So, but there is a risk of that. But otherwise, I must say that this is the most enjoyable thing that makes me very happy every morning to work with young people that are open-minded. And what we're celebrating is not my papers, it's actually our papers. And, you know, there couldn't have been a more fulfilling job, as far as I'm concerned, than working with young people on creative projects. And I still get a kick from that. And that
Did you say kick or cake?
Kick is both. And as you know, I have also administrative duties, but the way I see that is more of a service to help younger people fulfill themselves. And it's not so much, I mean, there is nothing else to it. So creating an environment that allows everyone to succeed, and it's very diverse. So that's all. So that's our celebration, it's not mine. And I would like everyone to enjoy the cake, which includes a lot of carbs.
No.
I cannot-
No sugar.
Now,
No carbs, no calories.
Mark,
No
would
cake.
would you like to say a few words about what the icing on the cake is?
The icing on the cake is a 600 for Avi.
Not for me, for everyone.
The 600 on the cake is for all of the papers you've written. There's a comet on the cake to show bright light. And also, if you notice, the chocolate on the cake is very, very wavy. We think it must be gravitational waves. Something along these lines going through there. They're very, very creative at the bakery. So.
Okay. Oh, and everyone is welcome to stay for Marion's talk. She will describe the South Pole experience, and she mentioned 3 items that.
I did not write that email.
Oh, so was it Mark? Okay.
It was here.
So the first item that has to do with having only a few minutes of shower time per week.
Yeah. 4.
4 minutes. Okay. The second item was.
See, I'm already remediating that situation.
The second item was being in an enclosed structure with the PI of the project for a long period of time. Was that the second item?
Again, I did not write that.
Okay. And the third item was what was it? The smallest
The smallest living organism within several miles is a grad student.
Right. Now the question is, which one do you find most intimidating among the 3 items? Do people have a favorite?
First one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, the first one, the shower time, because I get all my ideas during the shower usually. So having just 2 minutes, a few minutes a week. That's fine.
I would say it's a combination of the first 2, right? Because very little shower time and you're in a closed space with your advisor.
Well, what about the fact that you can't really go outside and enjoy? I mean, you have to stay enclosed.
You can go outside.
You want to.
You just have to spend 10 minutes layering up first.
I
And
see.
probably
And what is
won't
the-
last more than 45 minutes.
And what is there to see? I mean, there are no animals.
Nothing.
It's just white.
A white
get a lot of
flatness and a
ideas.
radiation.
That's like probably a lot of exoplanets are like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good experience, I think.
Aren't there penguins?
Well, all of these questions will be answered.
Some people think they're penguins and polar bears, but you know, it's not true.
Polar bears are probably bigger than grad students.
But they're in the north, not in the southern.
Help thyself.
Although we could maybe import them.
Then you wouldn't have residents anymore.
I'm willing to take that risk.
Well, polar bears are in risk of extinction, so.
Grad students are not in risk of extinction.
So I don't see the big deal, Marion. It sounds like the Harvard.
Really?
Nobody showers, nobody goes outside.
What about? Oh, no, but we need the fork.
Wait, I might steal that joke next time.
I was thinking it's
Thank you, Abby. Congratulations.
Take a seat.
How was New York? Got perfect.
God, well, the journey was like the most.
somebody had posted on there before.
Oh, you have
I somehow got that.
You don't know?
Oh, I'm gonna get
And
it.
signs that your child.
Okay.
Really? I'm very curious.
Yeah, I would like to have that conversation with
That's
people.
in the Calder,
Kind of like let you know they're a good person.
right?
A lot of people think I'm weird.
I like 2 trains cancelled. I eventually got there by bus. Here you go.
Oh, it's wait, you're nine now?
No, I was supposed to take a train. And the first one was cancelled. And I got rebooked onto this like 6 a.m. train on the day where I was supposed to take my talk. And so my first talk, my first photograph was the day after this when you get in at 10:30. 6 a.m. is not a nice time for a train anyway, so I woke up. I saw this message on my phone being like, hey, your train's been cancelled.
Oh no.
Congratulations. I was like, well, if I'm not cancelled, I guess like see what else is left. So it's like, still buses running.
Do you know if are we like? Did you have to rush the celebration before 601, or
No,
is
that's
it
the only
rounded
thing.
to the
Like,
nearest
it-
100 at this point?
No,
And then the bus broke down halfway through.
it was 600
In about 10 minutes.
and then Xiaowei is now.
Okay, okay.
So, there's a stream of.
Still got to do everything. Because they had like the bus being low, and so we just saw the bus.
But unless I
Unless you become more productive.
But like, maybe like the first half hour of the movie, the
There's a lot of decision
fire
tree.
one went
for-
off.
As you reach your
Yeah, so like everyone in the movie theater left. And then we waited through it for like 3 hours. Wow.
That's
I
a
guess
good
you reach this
way.
point where you can chart your career in many different ways from here forward.
So the decision will be whether to change the density
I'm sure it's hard to, I'm sure, yeah.
I mean, it's an advantage. You can decide to do an adventure.
Yep.
But then you give up on it.
Something that you love, yeah.
You enjoy the film.
Yeah.
One could say you can't have your cake and eat it too.
If you take a piece of someone else, you can.
When are you leaving for the funeral? This afternoon, are you?
Yes.
Progress millions of years ahead.
We should see how that goes. There will probably be so many people in the other
This film
countries.
was
Going to the funeral of Stephen Hawking this afternoon.
so
I was invited to that.
Right, yeah, I can see why it would be.
Is it on
It's so funny.
So
No, it was just in the cinema.
it will be a small gathering of the family and friends, but I'm sure there will be lots of people there in the street.
Yeah.
Please don't kill me.
It'll find a way to be a big event, one way or another. Because he's just, I mean, he's just so well known and admired and
There's going to be a lot of publicity there.
So what?
absolutely.
His ashes will be
Exactly, yeah.
put in the with
It's like a
Westminster
terrible
Abbey,
film.
Yeah.
next to Darwin and
And the funny part is
Newton.
that all the actors,
Maxwell is also there.
but they maintained it. American
Oh, there is a
accents
statue.
the entire
for
time.
him.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it even funnier.
Yeah, I've been there. I've
When you
seen
have, like,
Faraday.
This must be like.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah.
Faraday.
Yeah, yeah, it's listed, yeah.
Yeah, Einstein admired
And like,
Faraday.
Yeah, Einstein,
literally
Faraday, so he had Einstein had three like posters,
It was
this
amazing
is
stuff when he had like
Newton,
the
Faraday, and Maxwell.
high level hunch that the Russian government told him, like strong
Well,
coffee
Faraday
accents
was
and
the
stuff
most
like
impressive
that.
because he started uneducated and he discovered empirically all the important things. It's very interesting.
That'll clearly help.
Okay, so shall we start? Why don't we start? You might enjoy it.
I'm sure I would have to go and meet with someone though. Sorry.
There are more chairs.